They reached out across the stars and found us. Not a council, not an empire, just humans. Strong, scarred, smiling through pain. They weren't the heroes we expected, but they became the monsters you pray never turn on you. First contact with humanity, a galactic miscalculation. When we first made contact with humanity, we were stunned. After all, it's not every cycle that an interplanetary government discovers that it has overlooked an entire sentient species within its own territory, no less. To be fair, the humans hailed from a backwater region of space, considered strategically unimportant and long written off by the bureaucracy. Still, their planet was practically screaming into the void with unshielded radio signals, cluttering the local spectrum with a chaotic mix of music, war footage, and soap operas. There was no excuse for having missed them. The question of how this galactic oversight happened would have to wait, because the humans weren't. In the year they had been observing one of our fringe colonies, they had already deciphered our trade dialect and were sending diplomatic hails. Protocol demanded we respond. Normally, these procedures were reserved for when a primitive species stumbled upon FTL and triggered the 100 light-year isolation clause to protect developing civilizations. It was inconvenient that nearly 30% of this zone overlapped with Karan territory, but we'll get to that. Then we met them, and we were shocked again. Humans were wrong. Their planet, Earth, sits at the very edge of what theoretical physics considers a maximum gravity world for the natural evolution of spacefaring intelligence. Any more gravity, and their early rocket launches would have never breached orbit. Other species on such worlds had tried, failed, and simply accepted the sky as out of reach. Occasionally, one of us would uplift a promising species, but humans had done it themselves, and they looked absurd. Imagine creatures half our size, built like compact tanks, every muscle honed by generations of surviving crushing gravity. The average human was around 2 meters tall, short by our standards, but with strength that bordered on terrifying. Their movements shaped by that intense gravity were abrupt, purposeful, and oddly mechanical. Compared to the flowing grace of most galactic races, they looked like clumsy machines. Their personalities didn't help. Unshakable optimism, a bizarre resistance to stress. They could brush off insults, disasters, and failures with a shrug or a grin, except when discussing their past. When their diplomats nervously mentioned their violent history, wars, atrocities, genocide, we braced for the usual posturing. Instead, they were ashamed, actually ashamed. One of our own diplomats burst into laughter, reassuring the humans that their history was frankly rather average. That moment sparked an odd sort of camaraderie. Still, jokes circulated about them. Many were nervous about their strength, and laughter, after all, is a powerful balm for fear. Yet the humans only laughed with us. They even added their own jokes about being walking sledgehammers or their terrifying habit of using percussive maintenance to fix delicate equipment by literally hitting it. And somehow, it worked. Within years, humans became an economic powerhouse, expanding rapidly within their assigned buffer zone. Their energy, combined with above-average intelligence and monstrous physical stamina, made them excellent laborers and traders. They were forging a golden age. Then came the first real setback, the Saruk Stellar Gospel, a pious avian race obsessed with peaceful conversion, had signed a stunningly profitable trade agreement with humanity. The Saruk, though frustratingly evangelical, were excellent partners. Unfortunately, a human official was caught on a RimWorld media outlet calling the Saruk the Jehovah's Witnesses of the galaxy. He even admitted their constant preaching was annoying. The Saruk High Speaker was enraged. The trade agreement was dissolved overnight, and an embargo was proposed across the bureaucracy. We braced for human fury. They didn't give a damn. They apologized sincerely but moved on. Their economy staggered, yes. It took 2 decades to fully recover. Only one other species joined the embargo, the isolationist empire literally named "Off You Xeno Scum Don't Deserve to Know the Name of Our Species or Its Glorious Empire." Yes, that's the full name. Yes, we have to say it every time. No, we still don't know why they show up to meetings. But humanity endured until they caught the attention of the Karen Infinite Armada. The Karens had never joined the bureaucracy. They were a militarized juggernaut, not expansionist or genocidal, but aggressive, cruel, and powerful enough to challenge the entire galaxy. They had fought every member of the bureaucracy at least once. Now they had noticed humanity, and they were salivating. The Karens demanded 10 light years of space along their shared border with the humans. At first, it seemed minor, until we realized that this included Earth, humanity's cradle. We waited for the usual reaction, a shrug, a joke, surrender. Instead, the human ambassador stood, straightened her jacket, and said one sentence that is framed on my office wall to this day. "We of the Human Emirate Republic have deemed these terms unacceptable. Prepare yourselves for war." The room froze. The Karens laughed. So war began. And the humans were losing, at first. The Karens pushed deep, systems fell, human colonies were glassed, no resistance. We were horrified. Had humanity truly been so arrogant? Then came the transmissions. The colonies were empty, evacuated. The Karens had wasted thousands of megatons of bionuclear ordnance on empty soil. And when the Karens began celebrating, their livestock started dying. You see, humans had responded with precision bioweapons, viruses, prions, parasites, that made Karen meat sources inedible and toxic. Within weeks, over 90% of the Karen food supply was gone. Starvation loomed. The Karens retaliated, bombing human agricultural worlds, but found them fiercely defended. Human boarding tactics proved devastating, so the Karens adapted, destroying their own ships before they could be captured. Eventually, they succeeded in ravaging Earth's agricultural centers. So humans poisoned them, burned the crops, slaughtered their livestock before the Karens could arrive. And still, they didn't flinch. Karen society collapsed, riots broke out, cannibalism began. The Infinite Admiral, in desperation, publicly executed captured human farmers. The humans offered condolences and kept fighting. They didn't ask for food aid. They didn't need it. They had been stockpiling for decades, trillions of tons of food, enough to feed their species for centuries. Much of it still exists, deep in the void aboard Ark ships, massive vessels carrying entire populations hidden between stars. And then, Earth fell. The Karens, in a final act of desperation, used a gravitic catalyst. Earth cracked into 12 burning pieces. For the first time in galactic history, we saw it. A human gave a damn. They wept, mourned, not in rage, but with quiet, soul-deep sorrow, the kind of grief that scars empires. and then they began to push back, system by system, until the Korans were broken. Finally, the Infinite Admiral, now a withered husk of pride, came before the humans. His voice cracked as he spoke. I told you we would come at you with claws unblunted, and asked you to do the same. I now know that was the gravest mistake of my people. Please, we surrender. Show us mercy. The bureaucracy fell silent. The humans did not answer at first. Then High Admiral Simon Biel stepped forward, took the ceremonial blade, and said quietly, "Mercy was never off the table. You just never asked for it until now." And that is how the most powerful military in the galaxy was brought to its knees, not by numbers, not by technology, but by the sheer unrelenting will of a species who time and again simply didn't give a damn.